You're watching EVH Gear TV, brought to you by Mike's Music. Visit Mike's Music online for all your EVH and other gear needs. Microphones for EVH Gear TV are provided by Rode Microphones, and official Van Halen merchandise is provided by VanHalenStore.com. Now, here's your host from Ontario, Canada, EVH Gear artist Eric Broadbent.
Hey everyone, it is the weekend. Welcome to EVH Gear TV. Happy Friday to you all. And I'm joined by a good longtime friend, and it's been a very long time coming. Very excited to invite and welcome Mr. Chris Cannella to the program. Chris, how are you?
I am outstanding. Better than I deserve, man. I'll be honest with you.
Great, great. That is really good. Taking some time to enjoy the holidays approaching us very, very quickly.
Absolutely, man. Taking a little downtime for me, for the family, and start rehearsing again with the band to get a lot of stuff going for next year. But that's a later topic. But yeah, just taking time for me and the fam. That's
good. That's good. I watch a lot of stuff through social media of you, and I see how close you are with the family and a dad and all that kind of cool stuff. And I like a lot of these guitar players. You know, us older guys that have the kids and you know, just watching the family posts and stuff like that. You know, you kind of living through that, and just it's really cool. You have this persona of being this badass metal dude, yet you're the most cuddly dad that there is, you know, and stuff like that. It's really awesome.
Well, thank you. I'm the guy that I'm proud of being the standout dad at the PTA meetings.
Yep. Oh yeah.
When it comes down to cheer class and gymnastics class, I'm the one dad that's sitting all alone, and then you have the few that come over and try to. So I guess you're into like rock and roll and stuff, bro. It's you know, yeah, I get it. Right.
I don't know why you would stand out though. I can't see any telltale signs. No, that's awesome.
I know.
You know, and I want to share this as well too, because I never like to take credit for things that are not mine or that I didn't you know, have fortune come my way from other people. A lot of people don't know that the reason why I'm on the EVH roster is because of you. On the EVH Gear roster, the stuff seeing in this room here, 90% of it is because of you. So first and foremost, I'm the most thankful for the friendship. But second of all, I'm very thankful for what you've done for me.
No problem at all, man. I mean, you were a genuine guy. When we first started speaking, gosh, this must have been
2008, I think.
Yeah, so it's almost 10 years ago, so 9 years ago.
Yep.
So, you know, we first started talking, you know, there was a genuineness about you. There was a very honest approach between what you were doing, and you were very active at the time. But more importantly, you were a fan of the brand, which really mattered, because at that time, we'll probably get into this a little bit,
sure.
The message of the EVH at that time was really about the brand. It was more about the guy behind the curtain and making a brand for everybody. And you were part of everybody, if that makes any sense. And that was the whole motto that we used to use. This is what we use.
That's right. Yep. Everybody from metal to...
It was a lot of fun.
Yeah. So thank you. Thank you very, very much. And
you're very welcome, Michael.
I pinched myself.
Where was it when we first met? We actually met at, what was it, like a Long McQuaid type of
you know what it
Canadian
was?
music show. What was that called? Was that with Miak?
It was Miak. And I'm kind of embarrassed because I call it the watered down NAM. It's a Canadian NAM. It was Miak. And we hung out there at the Fender booth and everything. That was fun. And I broke a string on the Wolfgang Stealth. I felt really bad about it. And
it's all right.
I think
that's what Ace.
Yeah.
The best line I ever heard from Neil Kernan. And am I allowed to say something almost naughty on here?
Sure.
So, okay. So Neil Kernan, my old producer, I was recording with my old band N17, and I was in the studio, and I was tracking very light. And he said, please, pick harder. Pick like you're playing live. Pick, you know, like a man, because strings are not a clitoris. They're meant to be broken. It's okay to beat them up. And it's like they're replaceable, so yeah. No worries.
Love it. And I think, I'm not mistaken, I think that Wolfgang went on to be owned by Gerd Metzger. I think he has that one now. So that was very, very cool, because I think that became a NAM special guitar. Yeah.
Gerd's got that exact one?
I think that's the one. I think that was became a NAM guitar, but I'm not positive. We'd have to look up serial numbers, but that was a lot of fun. And that was the first time of my band members getting some experience at the Miak kind of thing too. So it was a really fun, pleasurable experience. So thank you for that as well too. But you just had a birthday the other day. What, 4 days ago? When was it?
Yeah, actually on Tuesday.
And what did you do to celebrate? Get together with some friends?
In all honesty, the one thing I did, the night of my birthday, I was able to be fortunate enough to stay at home and open gifts with the family.
Nice.
And just kind of chill out and watch some, like Deadpool and some other stuff like that with the kids. And then the next night, me and all the bandmates met up at a Oyster Beer House and had a few cocktails together and, made it a nice, chill, perfect 2 days you could ever ask for. I had my wife, had my kids, and then I had my bandmates all in 2 days.
2-day celebration.
Yes, absolutely.
Fantastic. I did see the pictures online with the guys from the band, so that's cool. Really nice. Yeah. Nice. One of the things I wanted to point out, too, we just kind of talked a little bit about EVH and how you helped me out. And I know you don't think about this a lot, but I mean, there's probably some times where, you're sitting on a couch and it might just hit you between, EVH and ESP and other companies that you've worked with. You've honestly been responsible for the success of a lot of guitar players like myself that, you could take them to the next level. A lot of these bands, I see the thanks. So you get thanked from everybody. Thanks, Chris Cannella. Thanks for Chris, blah, blah, blah. And I know you don't think about it. It's a lot of times it's a job. It's a passion of yours too. But does it ever hit you once in a while? I was like, wow, that's pretty cool. I've helped out a lot of guitar players around the world, achieve things that maybe it's through endorsements or maybe a marketing image. Does it ever hit you?
No, because I've been helped out just as much.
Nice.
It's, when I started off, my first phone call that I ever got from anybody in the industry back in the day was Donnie Wade. At the time, he was working for Jackson Guitars, and he was out of Fort Worth, Texas, and he was running it and going back and forth between, Ontario, where after the San Dimas factory, they moved to Ontario, and Donnie was a big inspiration. I mean, it seemed like Kevin Easton out of Fort Worth, Texas, and then as well as Sean Beresford and Tim McKee and our boys over at Mesa Boogie.
Mm-hmm.
And those guys were the guys that helped me. All right. And, T and Lawrence put me in an ad on my first tour around the U.S. And it was an ad that I wrote a letter to Mesa Boogie at the time for saving my ass out on tour. And those guys helped me out. Rosa and Tony over at DR, they helped me out.
Nice.
So now it's my way of saying, hey, even though I'm still active musically, you've got to be able to be the guy to help them out too, because I will never forget those moments where I was in the middle of nowhere and I had like Tim Livingston over at GC in Scottsdale, I had to make a call out of nowhere. I had to call, Tim McKee or T and Lawrence or whoever it happened to be. Those guys made me feel so freaking awesome. Donnie Wade and Kevin Easton, all those guys back in the early days, they made me feel important enough to take the call. And I like to just share whenever I have the opportunity to help somebody else out. I'm going to do the same for them.
That's nice.
It's my right. It's my duty. It's my duty.
I love that. That's going to be a big takeaway. I always try to find something and it usually happens at the end of the show. So we got a takeaway right off the get-go, right off the hop, which is nice. The fact that, that you do feel it's an obligation or it's a duty. You were helped and you want to do that as well too and pay it forward. So I do see that in you for sure. I mean, I've known this about you because I follow you very closely. And that's very, very admirable of you. So hats off to you on that one. Thank you. Sure. That's very cool.
Well, I don't know if I'd call it. I would just call it. It's just who we are, man. If you're in this industry for the right reasons,
mm-hmm.
and you're making music, everybody has to remember that. I don't care what you're doing, how popular you are at the moment, how popular you were yesterday.
Mm-hmm.
All it really comes down to is that if you're a genuine human being and you're going to call somebody on the phone, be honest about it.
Mm-hmm.
Don't be a rock star to anybody.
Yeah.
Don't ever treat anybody like they're beneath you. Everybody here in this industry has their highs and lows, man. We all need a handshake.
That's right.
That's really what it comes down to, a handshake and answer the effing phone, man.
Yeah.
Take care of each other.
I love it. I love it. Who cares about yesterday? Who cares about tomorrow? How cool are you today? And what are you? You're genuine today. That's what matters.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Absolutely,
I love it. I love it. I'm going to say hi to a bunch of people in the chat real quick. We're going to come back to an Eddie Van Halen inspirational question. So a bunch of people jumping in the chat. We've got the Law jumping in. These are our regulars as well. Lyle Ketchum. Chris is jumping in. Is it Malhofer? I want to say. Hopefully I didn't pronounce that wrong, and please forgive me if I did. Carlo Santin, my Canadian brother. Blimpus Rock Videos. JD Gonzalez. Curtis Murata, Chad Boston. Let me see here. FNAF Gamers, what's up, Eric? The Frank JC. Draw with Beachters here. T. Stephen Paul, Thomas Santiago. And let me see here. Lyle Ketchum says this sort of stuff is why the show stands out. You get to hear artists as normal people rather than the world stage stars, and that is kind of true. What's really cool here is Chris, I know you haven't seen a lot of the show, but when people come on here, they think it's going to be the typical interview questions all the time. We'll talk about what you have for supper last night, and we'll talk about the kids. And it's these artists, they kind of feel relaxed here because now they don't have to cram everything into 15 minutes like they do in a radio interview, or 5 minutes or a minute and a half. Mm-hmm. So it is kind of fun. It's very, very laid back. So you'll get to feel that hopefully tonight as well, too.
Oh. I'm loving it. I'm looking forward to the rest of this. It's
fantastic. Good. Yeah, it's a nice hang for sure. So I wanted you wear two hats. Number one, you wear a hat as Eddie Van Halen's friend, and number two, you've worn a hat as working with him as well too.
At that time, yeah.
Yeah. Yep. At the time,
there for 5.5 years.
That's right. And I really like to use the when for the certain time there you were working with him, and I've had some guests on the show before too where they've worked with some of these rock stars, and they were in the same band as a person, but yet they were basically made to feel they were working for, not working with. You had some time when you were working with, but let's take the friendship right aside from Eddie Van Halen. So here's you. I got a metal guy, one of the most metal guys on the planet. You. I've had guys on the show that are country players, chicken pickers. I've had everything in between. What is it? And they all talk about Eddie Van Halen. They're like, okay, Eddie Van Halen is my nucleus, is my inspiration. What is it about this dude, Eddie Van Halen, that inspires all of us in every genre there is on the planet?
Well, when you're a kid, okay, this is going to be a little bit, pardon me for dragging this out in an awkward way.
Go ahead.
I have a little bit of a different perception of this.
Okay.
One of them was during the 80s, and this is something that me and Eddie used to talk about. When the 80s were happening, my 80s were different from everybody else's, or not, from a lot of the people that were fans of Eddie Van Halen at the time. And my 80s were, I was into Slayer. I was into Metallica, Megadeth, Venom, Possessed, Bathory, Celtic Frost. I mean, that was my world. If it was offensive, it was aggressive, it was the underground, that was my world. But the thing about Ed, that Eddie always inspired with me and with other guitar players, whether or not you were into anything that was going on socially or musically at that time, whether it had been from the Hagar years or the latter Roth years or whatever it was that there was a genuine guitar player. And this was a guitar player that did not fake it. And what I mean by that was, like, in the studio when you recorded, it was always the one pass, no punch-ins. It was a genuine, real player's player. And I don't care what kind of music you're into. It was honest, it was genuine, it was raw, it was human. And you couldn't get more human. And the thing that, like, most of us, like me, when I was training a lot of guitar with some of my buddies out in Arizona, and even talking to some more famous guys, whether it been, guys that I've worked with in big bands throughout my AR years, he was also one of the most amazing rhythm players. So it made no sense how he can get back on the one, taking a groove so far deep off the beaten path with him and Alex, and been able to lock it back in a second and hit the one every time. Those are the things that made him a guitar player. And then the tinkering is what, I don't know if I should love him, or like I used to say to him all the time, I don't know if I should thank you or blame you.
Yeah.
For literally effing up my first 3 guitars because I was trying to do stuff that you were doing.
Yeah.
I'm sure my mom at the time, my late mother, was more pissed at him than anybody else.
Who's this Eddie Van Halen guy? I got to give him a phone call.
That's right, because we were just trashing stuff, trying to do stuff that we read about.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it really was. And he really had a big inspiration on even the heaviest of heavy guys because of the groove, because of the tinkering, because of the fact that he did not conform to to what was expected, what was going on, the processed plastic of what was going on.
I love it.
You know what I mean?
I love it. He is one of the world's best rhythm guitar players. I mean, everyone knows him for his leads. And I had a question later on in the evening. We'll probably still circle back to it. About the loss of a great player the other day is Malcolm Young, who was a huge loss to the industry.
Devastating.
Yeah, and he even hit Eddie hard because Eddie had a lot of AC/DC in his blood for sure. And that's the thing. A lot of people, especially the young kids, I want to say the young kids, they discover Eddie Van Halen, and the first thing they want to do is play the Eruptions and Hot for Teachers and things like that, where they focus on, you know, the licks that people will know, but they just don't realize what's going on underneath that thing. And like you said too, the original and genuine, you know, one take dude, you know, with some exceptions, is like flying like by the seat of your pants, or like a NASCAR out of control. And it just amazing, and pulling it off, and doing tricks because he didn't have the technology to him at the time, like, you know, the locking tremolos and things like that. So he would do a whammy bar dive, and he would actually, you know, pull back to get it back in tune before going to the next note. And these days, people just, okay, well, I made a mistake. Let's copy this one. Let's punch in here, and my whammy bar is messed up here. They just don't have that. It's
annoying. And you know, the best line that I ever heard from Ed and from Eddie was, if you can't play your song from front to back in the studio in one pass, that song is not ready to be recorded.
Yep.
And even with Autumn's End now, with the last EP that we did, and we'll get into this more later, but we tracked this basically without punch-ins. We made it very raw, very human, and that was the whole premise of doing it, was to make it very human, very alive. And it was because of that inspiration that, you know, he gave me back in those days.
Yeah. And I know where he's coming from when he says if you can't play it in the studio, you're not ready to record it, because live you don't get that chance. Oops, sorry guys. You know, if you're playing for your buddies in your mom's basement, well, guys, we made a mistake.
Come on now, let's just be frank. I mean, nowadays half the bands that are playing live are running tracks, so what does it matter, right?
I know. That's another thing.
That bothers me. That is the basic spit of pissing on everything that was rock and roll.
Yeah.
So I'm just going to make that statement right out and forward.
And I knew you would, because I've seen some of your posts before too, and some of these artists have been busted with a track skipping, you know, it's like Max Headroom on stage. You know, it's like, okay, all right. Yeah. You know, there's no place for it in rock and roll. There's no, I mean, I can see it with, now here's where I'll disagree with you, but this isn't really rock and roll either. Some of the music I've been introduced to through my son, you know, some of this pop music that's out there that's popular, a lot of stuff is backing tracks to choreograph with things on screen, visuals, but there's still real musicians on top of it. So it has its place, but for rock and roll, no.
Well, even in the industrial scene, you always had sequence tracks running behind it, but you had to have the stuff that was on stage was live. You may be running tracks behind it. The problem that I have, and I'll put this on record, is that when you have the guys on stage faking it, now we've got a problem. Yes.
No cord plugged into the guitar, nothing, and no amps turned on. You know, dummy cabinets.
And you see a guy at Warped Tour phoning in his own solo. Problem.
Yeah, I agree 100% on that. It's a different beast, and you haven't cut your teeth the same way a lot of you know, your predecessors did before too. So it's a different game these days, and it's kind of a sad scene in a way. There's not a lot of music that really stands out, and we'll get into that in a bit too. I'll ask you some questions on some things that maybe just make you go whoa, you know, when you hear it. And I find those whoa factors are happening a little bit less and less on the radio anymore for the people that even listen to radio anymore. It's not a lot anymore. It's traditional, non-traditional, like your streaming sources, your, you know, satellite radios, things like that, your iTunes and everything, and Google Play and all that kind of stuff. So it's a different game these days for sure. Jump over to the chat just for a quick second. We'll catch up with a few other people too. Mystic Stars jumping in, saying, hey, everyone. T. Stephen Paul says, EOB Sustainer or EO8, I can't remember. Sustainer strat seems like a winner. Frank McNeil says, hey, guys, I hope everyone has recovered from yesterday. And happy belated Thanksgiving to all American friends yesterday. Carlo Santin says, one thing I've learned watching this show for a while is that there are so many really great and genuinely nice people in the music industry. I didn't expect that. Yeah, the music industry is not all full of assholes. There are some nice people. Chris is one of them. And Chris has worked with, I'm sure you've worked with some, probably a few assholes, but I'm sure you've worked with a lot of genuine people too.
Dude, I'll say it right now. Bigger the band, the less the headache. And a lot of, you know, the bands, the only ones that are really assholes are the ones that haven't had a fight for it.
Yeah.
And I'll put that on record too. If you had a fight for it, you'll never talk to one of them. I mean, you could talk to everybody in Slayer and they are just wonderful.
Nice.
You can talk to everybody in Metallica and they are wonderful. You can talk to everybody in Lamb of God, Children of Bodom, all these guys that had a fight for it. Great punk bands, you know, the hardcore crossover. You talk to some of the guys like in Sick of It All and Agnostic Front, the guys that really had a fight. And Rancid, I mean, Lars from Rancid, just genuine, absolute amazing human beings. Machine Head, these guys really just kick ass as humans because they had a fight and they understand what it was like to be in the gutter. And the guys that are young that haven't had a fight for it, and I'm not even saying this is an age thing. I mean young is in the term of green.
Yes.
More than I mean an age.
Experience.
So let me just say green.
Yeah.
And the guys that are out there that are getting their first, their deals, their first tours, their first whatever, and they think this is how it's supposed to be because of, you know, tabloidal rumor or whatever it happens to be. That is so wrong, because they don't get it, and they go out and they start treating people bad, and they treat other bands bad on the road. And the bands that have been out there hustling for a little while, they're like, wow, that's terrible. But let me tell you, in the hard rock and metal world and punk rock and crossover, you have far fewer assholes than you do awesome dudes. And that's getting better and better.
That's
and I will
nice.
say that because the industry is getting tougher. It's not getting any easier.
Mm-hmm.
And because of that, I think that you're going to meet a lot. The people are really learning how to fight again.
Yep.
They're really learning how to fight for it again. And really, the guys that are out there doing it are the guys that genuinely want it.
I think, yeah, the toughness of the industry is weeding out the junk. And the people that, you know, think it's a get-rich-quick scheme overnight. I get a band, I get a website, I get some kind of a deal from somebody, and I'm going to be somebody. And then they realize, oh, we got to work at this too. And they lose a band member. They lose all their band members. They fold. And so there's another one that's, you know, makes room for the good bands. So, yeah, the ones that are still going, the ones that fight, that climb through the trenches, and I mean literal trenches out there. We've all done it. It's not a glamorous lifestyle growing up through this business. You don't get into it. Most people don't get into it because they want the money. They want to be the rock stars, or they want to play some music. And, man, it can be hell, you know.
Beyond. I mean, if you're in hard rock or heavy metal, first of all, I've said this before in other interviews, and I said this at, you know, NAMM panels and things like that. There's obviously something wrong with us.
There is.
To begin.
Mm-hmm.
There's something wrong with us inherently. Because why would you choose the one genre of music that is the least likely to make the most amount of money, the one that's going to be the toughest to break, the one that's going to be treated the worst, and have the toughest road just to be able to sustain yourself without a constant day job, because the passion of that music is different for everybody else. Because when you see a show, and let's just say, you know, the classic, you know, the Metallicas, the Megadeth, the Big Fours, the Anthrax, when you see those crowds of this day, and you see a group of kids that are out there just absolutely going ballistic, and you know the band's not making that much more than they are. How do you justify that? Because that enjoyment that you're giving to other people can, if you have to explain it, then you don't get it. You're not going to get it.
I agree. And if you saw me just stand up here for a second, the audience didn't see that. I had to grab a charger for my iPad. It was just about to die. So, and I agree with that too.
I'm going to have to do the same thing here in a second.
You go right ahead. And you know, the thing is, it's not just, I can see what you're saying with metal, because, you know, metal isn't as accepted, you know, for the average gig, or as, you know, people are shaming it and blah, blah, blah. But rock and roll, period, you know, when you hear, as a dad, you know, you hear your kid say, yeah, I want to pursue music. And like Junior here, he's really into it and he's doing very, very well with it. But the first time that he showed a real interest in music, I was thrilled and scared at the exact same time. I mean, literally scared crapless, because I'm like, okay, do I want my kid going through the living hell that can happen for musicians? And, you know, there's a good and the bad and the ugly. There's go down the path of drugs and alcohol if you're not, you know, if you're not wise, or you follow the wrong people. There's, you know, starving, quitting school, all these kind of things. So I don't want to paint a bad picture of music, but, you know, the life of a musician, and we are all very, maybe is the word dysfunctional the right word, or any person who's creative has these quirks, and we're a weird bunch for sure. So it's a kind of a scary situation when your kid starts to say, I want to get into music, Dad, whether it's your daughter or your son. What are your thoughts on that as far as a dad? You know, your daughter or son says.
That's a really good question, because you don't want to ever, my thing is, you always hope better for your children than what you've done. But at the same point, I will never regret anything that I've ever done or been through. So the challenges that I've been through and the horrific things of life that I've seen, I'm not proud of everything that I've done, but I will never deny it. And if any of my kids want to go through that, I will never tell them no. I will just give them advice to hopefully make it less painful.
Yeah. Yep.
And My thing is that it doesn't matter what you want to do. We're in a world nowadays that if you have the time and you have the drive, you can do anything you want.
Yes, you can.
And take that chance.
Yep.
Take it, because nothing worth having comes without the risk. Now, right now at this point, I mean, my kids are pretty young, and they have no interest in hard rock or metal.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say that's, at this point, I'm going to say it's a good thing. Maybe they'll become far more financially successul and then be able to take care of my old ass soon.
I like
what
it.
I'm hoping for. But
I think
will never
that.
tell them no.
No, of course not. No.
I mean, I've said this before. Even if my child even wanted to go to a church or whatever, I would say, all right, I will take you. Hey, man, I agree with you.
Mm-hmm.
But I will take you and I'll support your choices no matter what it is, even if it's something that I'm strongly against.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the difference between a parent that doesn't care and one that wants to see their child succeed. They may not pursue it for the rest of their life, but it's something they want to explore, and it's something you have to embrace for sure. Even little Eric here has talked about when he gets older, he wants to move to England. You know, he wants to go off on a career and move to England. I'm like, my baby wants to move out of, like, not only out of my city, out of my country. But if that's the thing, you know, I'm going to have to, when that day comes, I'm going to have to accept it and cry. But if you go out there, man, aim for the stars and grab as many as you can, for sure.
Absolutely. I mean, my stepdaughter, who's been with me, she was 3. She is just the most wonderful kid. And she's even talking about moving to another country as well. And they call that California. And I'm just not, you know, she wants to get into a few things. So, I mean, if that happens, then I have to go out there and help her out.
Sure.
You know?
Yeah. That's funny. I'm sorry. You got me on that one. That was a good one. Coming up in the chat here, we got some of your old friends here. But before we get to that, actually a few right now as well, too. Brad Bolin is jumping in the house here. And
yes.
Yeah, Brad's been playing some great EVH stuff and some rock. I see his stuff online all the time. Frank McNeil says, amen to Carlo. Let me see. I agree, brother. No place better. No place. Dan Wilhite says, hey, guys, what's up? So Brad says, Chris, what band musician was or is your biggest inspiration to play and write? That's a good question.
It comes down to a few people, but it really started off, the first one, and this is, we're on the EVH show, so this is going to sound pretty bizarre, but the guy that really started me, that inspired me to play guitar was Randy Rhoads.
Nice. No, that comes up a lot.
And Randy Rhoads, when I heard those first 2 records, I didn't even start playing guitar yet. I was too young. But, I wasn't too young. I was just too broke. I was young. I was, 7 years old, 8 years old, and maybe even younger than that. And when I heard them, I was just blown away with that darkness, that ethereal eeriness of the whole thing. I didn't know it was necessarily a classical movement. I just know that it made the hair on the back of my neck stood up. And then shortly after that, within the next year or so of just experimenting with music that I was stealing from my cousin's bedroom, came, of course, Van Halen. And then the sounds that came out, between Black Sabbath and Ozzy and Deep Purple and all of this heavier side, that really inspired me. But really, it was Randy Rhoads, Eddie Van Halen, and then to even bring it into a modern twist on things. Michael Ockerfeldt from Opeth really changed me as a guitar player and as a vocalist, as well as Rob Flynn from Machine Head.
Okay.
So there is quite a few influences, and I'll still continue to be influenced. But that handful right there was the big thing that really keeps me moving forward.
Kind of shaped you somewhat as well. Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah. So there you go, Brad. Awesome. One of our good mutual friends, you'll be happy to hear this name, Sean Silas, is jumping in. Saying
yes.
Hey.
Love that man. What a great human being.
He is.
Talent and a great soul.
He is. I tell you, I've had many talks with him off the air, Skype calls and stuff like that, and I swear to God, we're brothers from other mothers. I love him. I watch his family grow. It's very, very, and another cool dad. That's what we talked about earlier. The cool dad factor is very nice.
He is.
He's still waving the flag very high.
And he's even strong enough to admit those bad hair days that we all had, and he still flaunts them pretty good. So
he has.
Tough to you, bro.
Yeah, I fortunately, luckily for everyone watching this show, I don't have any of my old 80s photos because they're in another life somewhere else. They're gone. I have no records of them whatsoever. But I've seen some of Sean's. And they're pretty bad.
Yeah, and I'll challenge him.
Okay.
Fro. Any day of the week, I will challenge him. We both I have the bad Sicilian fro, and I still have it, hence why I bick it, because I will never grow it out again.
Okay.
So difficult.
I did see one of yours. I want to see some more after. You got to send me some of those after. I did see some, and they're really funny.
I will.
That'd be great. So Sean says back to work after some surgery. So good to have you back at Fender there, buddy, and doing what you're doing. He does a great job. A lot of my friends have guitars with his initials on the hang tag. Right. So he does a good job.
Well, I've seen him for many years come up in the ranks of that place. So it's great.
Yeah, they're lucky to have him for sure. Let me see here throughout the chat here. Lau Ketchum, Nemtal's jumping in, saying ESP, thumbs up. Lau Ketchum, let me see here. Sean South, I totally agree. Working hard for it makes you appreciate it. Awesome, guys. And speaking of what, Sean just has finally found his home with another band too, with Riot. Have you been following what he's doing with Riot?
Yes, I have. Absolutely. Of course.
Man, holy cow!
It's going really good.
Yes, I think he's finally found his spot where he can really shine. I mean, he's done very well before. He's going to be bringing all three of the guys, himself and the other two guys, on the show in December, coming up soon too. So I'm looking forward to that. Let me see here. Chris says, if your music rocks, who cares about age? That's right. There's nothing wrong with age. You could be a retired guy and come back and just do, turn some heads. Or you could be fresh on the scene as a teen. There's a lot of good teens out there.
I'll say this out there. Age, especially in metal, is the most non-discriminant towards age that there is, because it's really genuine. Because as much as, now I'm going to be a little forward on this, and so please bear with me on this. Sure. There's a fashion metal, of course, which is stuff you see with the younger teen type of pop metal and stuff like that, or whatever kind of subgenre you want to put to it. That does occur, but really, genuinely, real heavy, like extreme metal, not even just extreme, but heavy, genuine metal, does not really go towards the age factor. The ones that are really going after it for the image and for the pop of it is really more towards pop, and really doesn't have the essence of what metal is about. Metal is about the same thing, very similar to what that punk rock was about raising that middle finger and being able to stand up for what you believe in and have to fight for the sound and for the look and the attitude that you're trying to be, but not with having to give yourself into some sort of a stereotype pop image for the sake of the sale.
Yeah.
That makes any sense. I know it seems kind of drawn out the way I said it.
No, it's good.
But I hope that makes sense. A real metal, if you've never had a fight to be metal, you will never understand what it's like to be metal.
Hey, you know what? I'll tell you why it does make sense. I'll tell you exactly why it makes sense, because I'm going to be, I'm not afraid to admit my weaknesses here, and I'm not the most metal knowledgeable guy on the planet. I don't listen to a lot of metal. I mean, as a kid growing up, it was more rock for me, and the heaviest I would listen to on any given day would be Dio, Judas Priest, Maiden, Sabbath. No, you may call that metal.
That is metal, and that is the forefathers. That is the ground. That is the concrete of what is now real metal. Mm-hmm. Of course.
Yeah. No, see, the thing is, I agreed with you on this, because I know nothing about it as far as how people are treated with the age factor. But as you're saying it, I'm picturing it in my mind. Now, you're a 65-year-old hard rock guitar player in a band. It's like people look at you, and I could see the stereotype. Come on, dude, you're 65 years old. Don't pretend that you're 30. But if you're a metal guy out there, guy or girl out in this band and doing it, and the fact, like, first they may judge you before they hear you, but when they hear you, you pull it off. Okay, I don't care how old you are. I like your music, man.
If it's honest, if you mean it, then that's all that matters. If you mean it, people will believe it. Mm-hmm. And that's the thing. And if you don't mean it, and you're just trying to fit in, and you're trying to write something that's cool, that's kind of hip, guess what? Everybody's going to read it, and you're going to be laughing. Yeah, you're going to be laughing. Yep. That's not real.
That's right. That's like a human being trying to mask their scent when there's wild animal about, and they can tell. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Nope. Dude, you're human. You're lunch. Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's right.
And rightfully so. You're on their territory. You just done fucked up.
Yep, you're done. You're done. That's right. So here's something I want to get into. This is going to be kind of really cool. We're not going to go into real deep exploration on this, but the Van Halen fans and the Wolfgang guitar fans and people like that are going to really love this. And I know this hasn't been talked a lot about anywhere else on the internet. So Eddie Van Halen has been this guy, other than a few exceptions. He's been a maple fretboard player. Love maple to death. We all love the guitars that he puts out, no matter what company he puts them out with. If we're a fan of Van Halen, we jump on it, whether it be Peavey, whether it be Ernie Ball, whether it be Kramer. It could have been anybody else between those steps. PRS, if they were working some ideas with him and things like that. Everyone wanted to build a guitar for Eddie Van Halen. So Eddie Van Halen now has the third incarnation of the Wolfgang, basically. And so you were working with him, as a friend, and also as through the network. And all of a sudden, Eddie Van Halen has this Wolfgang with an ebony fretboard on it. And people like myself scratching our heads, that just doesn't seem right. What the heck would he want an ebony fretboard for? Tell people, and you can explore this as deep as you want, that what involvement you had in seeing that ebony fretboard land in Eddie Van Halen's hands.
Well, it's not going to sound as fun as it should, but the truth of the matter was is we were trying to do stuff that wasn't done. And I'm an ebony fretboard guy, and I'm a big fan of it. Chip Ellis also is a big fan of it. So, there was many meetings down at 5150. We were talking about how do we expand the line to make it more of a universal guitar rather than a signature model, make it more of a brand. And one of the things that came up was the ebony fingerboard. And, if memory serves correct, one of the conversations that we had was that, Eddie thought that the ebony would have a resemblance towards rosewood because they were darker. And I explained to him that it's a very hard wood and has a snap similar to that of a maple, but a brighter, more almost toneless sound where you get more of the string and the pickup in the body rather than the fingerboard sound. So he said, after lots of discussion and debates, and me and Chip, and I'm not going to say this is all me because Chip had a lot to do with this, because Chip was the absolute one of the most crucial people in the origination of the EVH brand, and it's just a damn wonderful human being. And we really tried, and we said, all right, make one for us. So we made one for him, and we played it, and we didn't know what he would think. And by the end of the day, he was driving around in his golf cart, cruising around on this Wolfgang with the ebony fingerboard, and he really gravitated towards it, and he seemed to really enjoy it. So basically, we just tried really hard to get him to understand that, one of the things that's, one of the reasons why some people wouldn't play it was because it wasn't for everybody. And when we had him try it and we convinced him in our way, he was so great. He was so gracious, and he really gave it a real whirl. And some have told me that was a big deal. I don't think that it really was. I mean, we're just trying something new, and he happened to like it, and it worked. I mean, guys that worked for other companies were like, how did you do that? And it wasn't me. It wasn't everybody. It was just all of us sitting in a room, man. It was just an organic thing that happened.
Yeah, and I think it is kind of a big deal. I mean, it's cool that you play it that way, and I like that, and I appreciate that, and respect it. But I think it is a big deal in a way, too, because now it's bringing in guitar players from, like, metal guys like yourself who like ebony. Your Gibson players, and other people come from all these different angles, like, oh, what's everybody gathering for over here? What's this buzz, right? And I think it's a very cool thing. Do you remember, was it a Stealth? Do you remember the body that you gave him the first one?
Goodness.
Doesn't matter, but
it was the, what? I have to really think back because I don't want to be quoted, but I'm pretty sure it was the Stealth.
I'm thinking so.
In all black. It was a blacked out. We tried it glossed, and then we tried it all satin. So I think it ended up being the Stealth. I mean, it didn't start off that way, but it ended up being the Stealth.
Yeah. And the only other question I want to ask you, as far as the time during EVH, is another guitar that we got to see that was kind of neat too. And it's really funny too, because I told you this, I saw this offline. I said, okay, now was I dreaming this, Chris? Because you and I have had some conversations. I said, am I dreaming this, or did you tell me this, or am I imagining things? Because there's so much Van Halen folklore out there. Like, did Eddie modify this, or did he not? And yes, he did. And it doesn't matter if you believe it; it gives you good spirits, right? All those kind of things. But on the tour, when he would be doing the keyboard tunes, he would always have a Wolfgang that was tuned to standard pitch. Just for the keyboard tracks. And the one guitar that was really stood out was the red satin Wolfgang, and it wasn't. People don't confuse that with the satin special that's out there. We're talking the USA body, and it was almost like a pink. Tell us a little bit about maybe an accidental or how that guitar came about.
It really came down to, we were just experimenting with colors, and Chip would be so cool about, hey man, let's try some different colors, and I would come in with my research of what was going on in the marketplace and what was selling with, in the competitive market, and try to show some ideas that maybe wouldn't be, normally done with a Wolfgang guitar that would be more acceptable to other people. So we tried a variety of, there was and that line of guitars that we made that brought down that effed up satin red. And it was kind of a mess up, actually. It was an error. We had a few paint errors that came about, and it was probably like 7 guitars, and that one just kind of stuck around and ended up showing up at the shows. I mean, it was really nothing intentionally done. It was one of those, oh shit, I guess that one just worked.
Yeah.
But it didn't work. We never put it out in the marketplace at that time. I don't know if they are now, but we didn't put it out in the marketplace. I'm sure they did something similar, you know, but
yeah,
it was just it was a fun thing. And we, you know, Eddie was very good at you know, he didn't like to waste guitars. So if we had a bad paint sample, as long as he thought it looked cool, it may not have worked for the line.
Yep.
He would use it.
That's right.
He would use it, man. He was outstanding. And that's the thing, is that back then, it really was fun. I mean, it was a tight team of just a few cats, man. It was me. It was Mike Ulrich on amps, Chip Ellis on guitars. Keith Chapman kind of ran that whole division for us, but it was really me, Mike, Chip on the Fender side, and then Eddie and Matt Bruck. And, you know, that was like a really tight group of 5 cats that just made things happen out of nothing.
Yes.
And it was a lot of fun, you know, and it was funny because what made it so unique was, like, I wasn't playing that style of guitar. I wasn't necessarily, and I was using Mesa Boogies, and I still do use Mesa Boogies. I have some AVH stuff, of course.
Of course,
know,
who wouldn't?
but,
yeah.
But I, you know, it didn't even come from the same backgrounds. We just kind of all met in the middle and just made things work as more of just like a group of family. It was organic.
Yeah.
It wasn't corporate. It wasn't thought out in numbers. It wasn't calculated. It was like, hey man, we got to do something fun.
Yeah.
And that's turned it from a signature series into a brand.
You did very
well.
well.
And it was those experiments. It was those things like that off, almost pink, messed up red that kind of inspired things to happen from that. It was just, it was accidents. And
yep.
And you know, Chip was great. He was still the best. I think he's in Nashville now. We haven't spoken in a while.
Yeah, he is.
I have to give that guy props. And we sure had a lot of fun.
I bet.
And Mike, oh God, it was great.
I'm glad you mentioned Mike, and I'm going to comment on the Wolfgang issue as well too. A few things that you just mentioned, I'll comment on. Number one, the accidental mistakes. Here in Canada, I like to say it's not my term, but we say it here in Canada: throw spaghetti at the wall and see what sticks. And
right.
you know, so that's ugly. That's kind of neat. Very, very cool. As far as the Wolfgang, the closest thing that they have now in their line, it's actually in production right now, is the Mexican-made special, and it's a satin red. A few of my friends have that one. It's basically a picture of stealth. And maybe that one was in production when you were there. I don't think so. I think it's newer than your time.
No.
Yeah, so it's a satin red, and it's a kind of a stealth finish. Beautiful guitar, Mexican-made. And as far as Mike, I'm glad you mentioned Mike because I haven't heard his name in a while. And Mike, obviously one of the chief engineers. Maybe my title is wrong there, but he was an engineer, of course, through the 5150 line.
He was the chief engineer in the amp side, and his right-hand man, Howard,
yes,
was also a part of it. Howard's kind of, from what I understood, have taken over that role.
Okay.
And well-deservingly so.
Yep.
Class act. He really got it. We spent, Mike and I were in the trenches for a long time that kind of paved that road to make it easy, you know, for others, you know, to kind of build off of that. And I'm not saying it's easy now. I'm just saying it's different.
Yeah.
You know, it's a different format now. And it's not like it was vintage. We're talking about, you know, it was 2007 or 2008 to 2014. So,
that's right.
You know, whatever that, 5.5 years. So
that's right. And it was actually that time when we talked about this earlier, you can see the amp sit behind me. I'd like to say that's the one that you sent me, but that's the replacement one that you sent me because in your time, and this is why I love the brand so much. And a lot of times too, I'll get comments come through YouTube channels here or Facebook and things like that. And sometimes I'll get people upset, and they might be mad at the brand. They have a problem. And first of all, you're going to have a problem with any brand. I don't care what brand you have out there.
Every brand in the world.
Every brand.
If they're made by humans.
Yes.
If they're made by computers, something is going to happen wrong, and someday the vibe of a brand may not work with somebody. You
change.
Sometimes things just don't work, and your hands may not react with the same brand that everybody else says is great. May not work for you. Guess what? You're a human being.
That's right.
You're a musician.
That's right.
You're always going to sound like you. No matter what you try to do, you're always going to sound like you, and you're going to play with what you love.
That's right.
You know, and that's all that matters. And if you're playing music, and you're playing it genuinely, and you're playing it through gear that just you really feel passionate about, then I'm happy, because I want people to be passionate about their personal gear. I don't care what brand name is on the
That's
on the
right.
headstock or on the amp. I don't care, as long as you're passionate about the gear that you love, because that's what gave us all. That's what gave us jobs,
Mm-hmm.
man.
Oh, I agree
You know
on
what I
that.
mean?
I agree. And you know, it's funny. This will show you. And I know I don't have to sell you my passion, but I'll tell you my passion. I get nothing in return from the EVH camp for doing this, but I like to look at myself as sometimes a hostage negotiator, in a funny term, because I'll get some people, they'll comment on the videos and they'll have a problem. Now, sometimes it's a big portion of the problem is human error. Someone's doing something wrong. They're running something backwards in a loop, or they're putting a distortion pedal through a loop. They're just doing something stupid. I never blame them for doing something stupid. I'll say, okay, let's evaluate what you're doing here. And I like to kind of be the front line to just at least calm them down a little bit. And then I still send them to customer service, but at least now I've diffused the situation a little bit. And because I want to see a happy story at the end of every purchase, and especially with EVH, because I push that a lot here on the show. Obviously, it's in the title. I want to make sure that if there's a problem, when they get to customer service, you get more flies with honey, or whatever it is, than the other way around. And the customer service kind of appreciates it because now I've diffused the situation a little bit. But my point was that, a very long-winded point, was I had, as an EVH guy, I had an issue. I was playing one of the biggest gigs in my life. It was a festival gig. It was the next day, and I called you. I had your cell at the time. I still do. And I said, Chris, my I think it's my power transformer blew in my head. And it was just a fluke, nothing bad, but I had a blown transformer. I was playing a big show tomorrow, or 2 days later, or whatever, because you got me overnight through you and Mike, sent another head before I even returned the other one back to you. And I played my gig with my with my replacement 100-watt head, which is still there today. And that is a level of customer service like I've never seen before. And I'm the littlest guy on that list of rosters. And I still say this today, and I still am. And I was treated like I was up there with anyone else.
Well, man, it comes down to this. It's like everybody out there who's playing a gig. All right. I mean, it sounds funny, but I'll never forget my first time being on the road, on a real tour and on a road for 2 months at a time. And I had to call somebody. It's kind of the statement that I talked about earlier.
Mm-hmm.
When you have these conversations with people that inspire you to be able to do that for other people. And I remember I had to make a call to Kevin Easton and Tim Livingston and Donnie Wade and T and Lawrence, and it happened. All right. And I was just starting off. My first deals, back in the day, guess what? People had to pay for their endorsement deals. Yes, they actually still had to pay for gear. It's hard to believe, but because we loved it. That's what I say. When you play what you love, and you stand behind it, those brands will stand behind you, and that's the way it should be. Of course, there's always exceptions to every rule, and there's some people that kind of ruin it for other people, and but you got to still get back to basics, man. You got to be able to say, man, this guy's genuine. This guy's got a real show. He's relying on your product to make the day happen.
Mm-hmm.
Then you got to be able to say, all right, if you back up your product, you better back up that guy's performance, man.
That's right.
He needs it. You have to take a little bit of a gamble to make sure you're going to be able to get that other amp back, whatever it happens to be.
Mm-hmm.
But it's worth it, man. If the guy's genuine, you're going to get it, man.
Yeah.
Take the damn chance.
Yeah, I agree. And there's some people just won't do that, and that's why. And we're seeing some other companies right now, and I won't name names at all because I never name names. But we're seeing some things in the industry where we're hearing guitar companies and amplifier companies. And it's like artists are jumping rosters all the time, and you even got to see a lot of it coming from one of your last positions. People coming from one company over to this one because the people they're actually, here's the thing, staff is changing every day. It's almost like Walmart. You got a different greeter every day at the door. It's like, well, right. I don't feel comfortable. I don't know who you are. I had a lady here yesterday. Now I've got this man here. I don't know who you are. And you need a relationship. We actually just talked about this today with my fiance here, Sandra Lee, my better half. When you go to see a doctor, okay, you've seen 10 doctors and you've told them your symptoms 10 times. Now you go see another doctor, you got to say your symptoms again. You want to, and you and I talked about this in a different way as well too. People need to deal with one person, right?
Right. And we are in the business of relationships, and a lot of times people, but nowadays guitar quality is really all very good. Everybody can make a decent guitar.
Sure, everyone.
There's very few. In all honesty, there's very few really crappy brands. Mm-hmm. And so when a guy is like just comfortable with a guy in a relationship that he knows that things can happen. A lot of times guys will jump ship from brand to brand. I don't always condone it because I want somebody to play with what feels good for them. But certain bands at certain levels can get whatever they want made for their hands to make it work right. And they just want to move for the sake of relationships. And I've been a part of that dozens of times, from very large bands and to even some of the bead level bands or whatever. But it really comes down to playing what feels good to your hands.
Yeah.
Not every band has the opportunity to get a company to build them a guitar that feels right for them. So they got to play what feels good. Don't, and I say this to advice to everybody, don't play anything just because it's for free. Always go and play what feels good to your hands. These are the tools of your trade. The most important thing in your career is your music, not your gear. So play what feels good. That the tool that you need to make your music sound the best to your audience, that's what matters most.
I agree.
That's what absolutely matters most.
I agree 100%.
I've turned many people away from brands that I've worked with.
Yep. I can attest to that as well, too. And here again, I won't name a company name, but I actually let go of a company one time. It wasn't a huge company, but it was big enough that they gave me a couple free guitars, a double neck guitar and a Les Paul style guitar. And I wasn't 100% comfortable in the company itself. The guitars, they were playable. They're good. I'm not going to badmouth the guitars. They were playable. But, at the end of the day, at the band I was in at the time, we were kind of doing either kind of a borderline Christian thing. I don't know what you want to call it. We didn't know what we were doing, but we were being very family friendly is what I guess that's the best point to say. And some of the beliefs of the company itself, you see, sometimes companies have to separate politics, themselves from their business, and they didn't separate things like that. And I didn't really want to be associated with some of these things. Just like here, like everyone has political beliefs and religious beliefs and everything else. Leave them at the door, and I don't care what you do. Let's just, don't bring it. But it was brought to the table too much, and being on this roster was not comfortable. I'm sorry, guys. I'm done. And people thought, you're freaking crazy. No, I'm not. I can't be associated with that. And I walked away from it. And it's hard to walk away from free stuff sometimes, but it was the right choice. And I would do it again tomorrow.
It's okay to walk away from free stuff. Just play what's in your heart, man.
Yeah.
It feels good. Play what feels good to your hands, what feels good and what's right for you and what needs to be best for you and your band.
Yeah.
That's all that matters.
I agree.
And I believe in everything that I've ever worked for. That's why I'm taking time out right now to figure out what was going to happen next, because I just don't work for companies for the sake of doing it.
No, I know.
The reason why I took over 3 years off from playing music, because I just didn't want to be in a band with dudes just because they were there. I needed to think it out and do it right again.
Yep.
And do it right. Don't just, because if you just keep jumping and jumping and jumping, not only are you going to become a whore one level or another, or one level of a definition of that or another, you're also not going to be fulfilling anything of your needs as a musician.
No, I agree. And you and I are very close in the same age. I tell me if I'm correct in assuming this of you. I know you're doing the right thing, first of all, by taking some time off, and that's great. And it's it's nothing better than spending time with your family throughout the holidays, and we're almost there. So next year, you approach the new year, 2018, something comes your way. I would think that you're probably going to look for something that, number one, you can put your heart into, your heart and soul, but also quite possibly maybe retire with the company. You know what I mean? Get into some. It's not something that's going to be a 2-year deal, 5-year deal. Something that you could grow with and potentially maybe retire.
Let me say this. I'm going to put this out on the record.
Yeah.
And it's the most vague thing that I can ever possibly say. So this is very unlike me, but there is a couple things in the works.
Good.
And when they happen, if they happen, we got a couple things to figure out. Me and 2 other people. When they happen, if they happen, it will be a very, very big noise, and it will be very, very positive. Good. And I'm sure that, and it will give us all the room to do what we need to do, and for me to tour and be able to do this as well. So I know that's very vague,
that's
but
okay.
It's nothing in life comes without taking the biggest risk of all. So that's what we're talking.
You know what? And that's cool. I'm glad you didn't say anything else, because no one wants to ever jinx anything. But, good things happen to good people. And the more you give, instead of saying, what can I have, what can I have, what can I have, the more you give, a lot of times there's other hands on the other end saying, here, I got something for you. So I feel that with you. I feel the fact that what you've done for people over the years, I think there's some nice little lights shining on you, and I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and as many positive vibes I can to make this happen.
I appreciate that, man. I appreciate that. And who knows, man? I'm keeping my fingers crossed, and I just don't want to join another company. You know, just not. There's a couple. You know, obviously, you know, I'm not patting myself on the back. Please don't take this the wrong way. But,
no.
There's been a lot of companies that have courted me, but I have to really be. I don't know if I just want to. I don't know. There's just a lot of stuff they have to take into that, and I'm a person of integrity. I like to think that I am, and I want to teach that lesson to my kids.
Yep.
You know.
I made the biggest leap in my life exactly a year ago, almost to the day. I quit my secure job every paycheck every other week, working for a radio station, and it was the riskiest job ever. I had it out with the manager one day, and I basically, you know, raised a middle finger, grabbed my coffee machine and my Van Halen 1984 record that was in my office, and said, "I'm going home." I didn't say I was quitting. I said, "I'm going home. I'm going to go think about things." And I said, "No, I'm not coming back." And we validate my parking, and it's been a year to the day. I've kept the lights on. You know, it's not the most luxurious thing, but you do have to leap, and don't ever.
Absolutely.
I don't encourage people just to quit their jobs. I certainly don't. But if you have a belief in something, whether it's quit your job and go on the road and do it, if you have the support system at home, that's number one. You have to have the support system at home, a good wife
at home, and remember that every great economy started from the barter system, where people actually made their living as independent businesses.
Yes.
Always remember, every country that has any kind of successful economics was built upon independent businesses.
Yep.
Not major groups taking care of 1,000 people. It's basically one person trying to make something for themselves.
That's right. Well, remember the old days of the Hudson Bay Trading Company, especially up here in northern Canada.
Oh, yeah.
You know, I'll trade you 5 cow hides for some lumber to build my shed, whatever. I do that a lot with my business. My business is I don't rely on this, but I certainly do trades. I do barter systems. Hey, okay, a butcher shop. Okay, I'll do a website for X amount of dollars, and we'll take so much store credit. And you know, the bills are paid, and we got a freezer full of meat. Right. You know, that's kind of a cool thing that you can do that.
And it's still happening now. I do the same thing with my consultant job on the side right now, where I consult with companies to help them out with product management. I help them out with branding, and I also help some other guys out with their bands and help them out learn about amps and teach them about guitars, and you know, give guitar lessons in exchange for help for stuff that I'm doing.
Nice.
You know, it's always a small network of people, and you can actually still survive.
Yes, you can.
Don't be discouraged.
That's right. There's always things you have. Look at these people that have founded websites. I don't know what they're called, but
I still work for ESP on the side too.
There you go.
I still consult with them. Yeah.
So you can't go wrong.
Great terms.
It's like a bar. I forget the name of the website. It was really cool, but you sign up to this website, okay? And I'm an electrician. I need a shed put in the backyard. I don't know how to build, so I'll trade you my electrician services for your handyman services.
Right.
You know, so the world can still survive on that.
Yeah. Very cool.
It's good. A quick jump back over to the chat. I'm going to come back over some questions about the local music scene in your area. So Lyle Ketchum says, exactly. If your music has a good message and sound to nod your head to, you stand a very good chance. Brad says, I think first do it for the music and the fun and stop there. And then don't try to think of making $1 million. Always maintain that joy. And that's very true. The more you're focused on the stardom, like don't ever put that out of your reach, but the more you reach for it, you're forgetting about the things that's right in front of you. And Lyle Ketchum says, yeah, personally, if I entertain one person, I win. Bane Rocks, who's my junior, Eric Jr., you know about Eric Jr., he's jumping in, watching, and that kid's becoming a master musician as well. Thomas Santiago says hi to Bane. And let me see if I missed anything towards the bottom here. I don't think I have. Oh, yeah, I have missed a few. A bunch of people jumping in. Let me scroll back a little bit. I apologize.
No worries.
So Blackie DH is jumping in, as Sean Silas is recognizing him. And we've got Carlo Santin says, Chris, what could you tell us about EVH that is as crazy fans would find surprising or unexpected? And you did have a couple of things you were sharing with me off air. Anything you can share that's not overly personal, but something you might want to share would be a fun EVH story.
You know, yeah, you know, I'll make this as I'm going to tell one great story, and you know, this isn't a super personal thing. It's not the nitty-gritty dirt or anything like that, because I'm just not into that.
Of course. Try
to ask me about that, and it's like, you know what? I'm about ready to beat the shit out of you if you keep asking me like dirty. That's just rude, you know. So, one of the best things, and this is actually more of a wonderful, I guess you would say, like a salute to Eddie Van Halen, and it was one of those times where, you know, things happen, and when people are recording, and I just happened to be there for a few sessions when they were doing different kind of truth, whether it be pre-production or whether it be the actual remixing or whatever it happened to be. There was a lot of stuff that went on that's not my place to tell, and it was cool, but it's not my story. But there was a point that we got called at Fender that his amp sounded terrible.
Okay.
Like, everything's working wrong. And I asked Mike Ulrich, and I said, Mike, what's going on? I'm getting a call. They're in the studio right now. They're doing stuff. And he's like, that's the amp that we specifically made for him right off the production line. We made sure that we took everything he has. He was off the line. It wasn't specially made for him, but we would do some tweaks for him here and there, depending on what was needed in the session. And he was like, that's like the most perfect amp ever. And Eddie was like, basically saying that it was terrible. It just would not work. And so he's like, please come out. So me and Mike took a flight out from Arizona out to Burbank the next morning. We get out to the studio, and in the control room, he has the amp set up. And he was playing, and he's like, it just sounds terrible. And we're like, we thought it sounded really good. We're like, well, this thing sounds pretty good.
Yeah.
So we took the amp out of the control room, and we brought it into the room where the cabinet was. And just to be able to take it apart, so we pulled it out of the chassis, and Mike has all his tools there, and him being smart and me being not. We were kind of looking at things the best we could. And we pull it out, we plug it into the cabinet, and we light it back up just to kind of see what things are flowing. And Mike's really diving in like the mad scientist that he is. And Eddie walks in, and he goes, that's it. It's perfect. I'm like, oh, crap. This is bad. He lost his mind because we didn't touch the amp yet.
Yeah.
We didn't touch it. Same speaker cable, same everything.
Yeah.
So it couldn't have been the distance on it. It could have been the impedance. It could have been anything. We're just like, what is going on? The same exact thing. So we're like, okay. So we boxed it back up and brought it back into the control room. And he goes, what happened? Now it sounds like crap again. So we're like, oh, right. And Mike is looking at me, and I'm looking at him like, all right, this may be the day.
Yeah, that's
it.
We're gone.
The rumor mills come to fruition, because we never saw it. In all honesty, the five of us, we never had a bad day.
Sure.
For 5.5 years, we'd never had an argument. We never were yelled at.
Yeah.
Like all the rumors were over the years.
Sure.
Oh, Eddie yells at everybody and does all this. We never had that. It was all horseshit. So we were like, what is going on? Maybe this is the day where, we've seen Ed underneath a level of stress we've never seen before. Who knows? It's an album.
Yeah.
And we bring it back out into the live room again, and where the cabinet was, and we plug it back in, and he goes, what are you doing? Now it's perfect. So Mike says, stop it. I got to check this. And he went and checked the outlets on the walls.
Voltage.
And absolutely. And this is no lie. This is no exaggeration. And this is one of the reasons why when everybody says that, Eddie Van Halen's ear is different from the rest of the world, I will stand by it, and I will attest to this. And I've seen it, and I've almost bled for it. And that is, there was 1.5 volts different between the outlets.
Wow.
1.5. And
That
he
did
heard it. And we saw it, and he went and, called up the electrician and made sure that next outlet was fixed. Or I don't know what he did to it after the fact. That was beyond my pay grade at that point. But we just knew that we weren't crazy. And
That's
we saw it, and we're like, his ears are the real deal. When he says that he hears stuff, he really does. And we sat there, and it took us hours. But,
wow.
Hey, it is the real deal. So there you have your inside story during that era of Eddie Van Halen, of the truth of one of his greatest talents, and that's his ear, besides his playing, of course.
So there you go. The test is proven. I thought maybe for a second you were going to say you run an extension cord out to the other room and plugged it in there or something, just so we could still record. That's hilarious. I love it. Wow. And you and Mike were probably thinking, okay, well, we're even going to get our parking validated here. You know what I mean?
No, we weren't even there. We were actually at the studio. So the 5150 is actually right above his house. Yeah. So it's like you have the house, and it's the driveway that kind of goes up from there. And it used to be like the old house that he was in at the time, but it's small and it's fun. Yeah. It's like almost like a big guest house.
Yeah. I love it. That's hilarious. So there you go, guys. When you read these things in interviews, you'll read them again and again and again, where you can hear the difference between amps and cables and different things like that. It's proven right there.
Yep, absolutely.
Yeah. Dan Wilhite in chat says, still haven't tried the Wolfgang with Ebony. Looks awesome, though. And Sean Silas is the first one to comment back saying super fast. Yeah, it is fast as hell. Let me see here. The driver says more metal guys would gravitate towards EVH guitars if there was more push of the tunematic versions, in my opinion, for different tunings. Yeah, I could see that for sure. There's slight love for the tunematics. Let me see here.
That was a big push for a little while there. So
yeah,
that was things. Like I said, that was back then. So I'm not gonna discuss anything.
No, of course. Yeah, different times, right? For sure. I want to talk a little bit about the music scene. We're going to get right into here the remaining 25 minutes here. We're going to look at Autumn's End. And here in Canada, the music scene has really, I mean, it's changing everywhere, of course, but in our small towns, like where I used to live, I was in a town of around 40,000 people. That's considered a small town. And where I am now, it's only a couple thousand people. But the bars, when I was a teen growing up, and even in the music scene, in a small town, there'd be 7 to 10 clubs, and there'd be waiting lists to get into any club to watch a real rock band. What's it like in Arizona now for, not necessarily just metal, but clubs, period, if places that will take bands to play? What's the scene like your way?
You know what? I'm going to say this, and I'm not just being biased because I'm from Arizona, but I've spent a lot of time across the world. And I spent a lot of time in Los Angeles. I'm not talking bad about LA, but I'm just saying it's a different world. One thing about the Arizona music scene that I absolutely adore is that we really do love local music. And back in the early, like in the 80s, in the mid 80s, back in the Flotsam days and the Sacred Reich days and stuff like that, we had a great bumping scene. The clubs were always filled for these bands, whether it be, with Atrophy and, Flotsam, everything like that. And then it kind of died down a little bit, and then it picked back up again in the 90s. And during an era where my old band N17 was playing, we would be playing to hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of people a night. And it was all local scene, and the scene was just huge. And it died again, and now it's back up again. But now, one thing I love about the Arizona music scene that it's back up again is that the diversity of bands that have draws are so good. I mean, we're actually drawing in like real good death metal and really good extreme metal, but also like doom and rock and even like commercial rock, it's just doing good. Like you can't go to a local show with a decent band, that's pro and strong without having 50 to 75 people every time paid the full price at the door.
Yeah.
That just, it's great. And when you go out to certain other towns, I'm not going to talk total shit, but there's a lot of towns that are known for their big music scenes that you go out there, and the only way you're going to get a local band to play and get a draw is if it's free.
Oh.
And that's rude.
Yeah.
And the thing about Arizona is that people pay to see local music. And that, these 50 to 75 people a night, that's a Tuesday or a Wednesday.
That's good.
On the weekends, you got hundreds, and every bar is sold out for local music, and it's fun. And it doesn't matter really what genre it is. A lot of the bands support each other, too. I'm not going to say they all do, because there's always dickheads in every local scene. But, I mean, there's always – but the support is great. I mean, here in a few minutes after we get done with our interview, I'm going to go see my other guitar player, Tanner. He's in a band called Source, and his band is releasing an album tonight.
Nice.
And I want to go see him play. And we're in the same band, with Autumn's End. And obviously, that's it's our big priority, but he has this band that's doing killer. I want to support him.
Of course.
And there's a lot of bands that are supporting that scene. You just got to make sure it all, you got to take care of each other.
That's going to be really special for him, too. I know right now when he sees you out in the crowd, I mean, I know he probably knows that you're coming, but even if he didn't know you're coming, he does know you're coming. The fact that when he sees you there,
me
it's like
Jason, our drummer, and our bass player, Rudy, we're all going to be there.
That's great, man. That's real brotherhood for sure. Wicked,
Totally.
wicked. It's good for sure. Billy Shelton's jumping in. Good to see you, Billy. Sean Salas says, Chris is a master of customer service. He helped me with my amps big time. So,
all right. Well, thank you, man.
There you go. Don Shepard, show as always is great, but I sure enjoy reading all the chats here. Yeah, the chats are fun. It's a big family. And that's one thing you'll find, Chris, if you come back on again, which I'd love to have you in the new year, and you can tell us about your new adventure once it's rolling, if that works out,
absolutely.
And tell us about it. You'll see the people here are like a family for sure. Spanky McAllister says, hi, guys. Don Shepard's jumping in, saying, hey. Let me see here. Is Joe Stump's guitar for sale to customers or just for him? Also love Andy James' signature.
Oh yeah, those the Joe Stump was just for him.
Okay.
The new Andy James signature are coming out at January NAMM.
Okay, good. So check out NAMM for sure. Rocamp56 is here. Says, good evening, Eric and Chris. Great show. Thank you. Eric, have you heard the new the new 50-watt EL34? It sounds amazing. Yes, I have, and hoping to have one here in my hands very, very soon. It's hard to get right now. All the dealers are bound backward. I shouldn't say back all of them, but there are some in backward situation. I think my sponsor, Mike's Music, has one in stock right now as well. So mikesmusiconline.com, reach out to him, and he can help you out. And you don't have to be a Canadian to participate in purchasing there. He can ship just about anywhere. Sean Salas says it right. I mean, yes, he nails it right here. Good things happen to good people. And I think he's referring to my comment when, you've been such a giving person that I think there's going to be some nice light shining your way in the new year, and we're all going to wish for that. And Blackie DH is good. Cool, Chris. Good luck in the future. Humbucker Lover is jumping in, and Humbucker Lover, and as you a former Jackson guy, and you probably still have some Jacksons in your arsenal, I'm sure.
Course.
Yes. He has well, first of all, he does a really cool talk show as well too. Humbucker Lover, and his wife is Single Coil Lover, which is kind of a neat spin. Mm-hmm. But he has a Facebook page that's all dedicated to Jackson guitars, and he has a lot of love over there. So good to see you, Will. Let me see here, and yes, Brad is giving you a happy belated Thanksgiving, and Don Shepard saying, "Hey everybody," I'm gonna just make sure I haven't missed anyone. Let me see here. Scott jumping in, just popping in for a moment. Have a great weekend, guys. Single Coil Lover, there she is. Says, hello, everyone. I'm listening with Humbucker Lover. Let me see. Ed was, let me see here. Get a little further here. Holy cow, we got a lot of comments I missed. Jason Kowalski, drums for Autumn's End. That's from T. Stephen Paul.
What was that?
Jason Kowalski, drums for Autumn's End.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep, that's my. Yeah, we're gonna see each other here in a few.
Perfect, good. I think he would make
ever.
Great. Quentin James says, we had an opening. What do you say? When we had an opening band, we always gave them full lights and full PA. We always wanted to be the cool band to play with. That's true. And you know what? I remember doing a Monsters of Rock type of deal before. When I was doing the Van Halen tribute, it was a Van Halen band, a Kiss band. Tragically hip tribute. That shows how Canadian we are. An AC/DC tribute, and there might have been one other one. I forget. I think that was it. But I remember doing the Kiss band was the headliner, and when we're doing our sound check, we had 4.5 feet. Here you go, guys. You have this 4.5 feet square to set up, and we're like, okay, that'll fit my pedal board. Where's the other three guys go? You know what I mean?
Well, there's been times this is true. Like when my old band N17, me and Jason, my drummer with Autumn's End, we were out opening up for Marilyn Manson and Clutch, and we had some shows with them. And literally, the stage was so tight that Jason's China was hitting me in the earlobe.
Oh,
so
God.
It was pretty. And I was just in that band. I was just guitar. I wasn't doing guitar and vocal, which is, and even now we've had some shows where we've had a play, and Jason's kick drum is basically giving me an enema. Where I'm standing right in front of him, being in the center stage. It happens.
Yeah.
But then there's it happens, and I understand why. A lot of it's the venue.
Yep.
And you have a package tour that's out there, and these guys have been working their nards off, and they only have so much room that they're able to give because they don't have the crew to be striking everything and having it back up in 15 minutes. So I understand it. There is also the time, like with the bigger bands, back in the day, I remember seeing one of the most inspiring things, even though it was not a very good era of Ozzy Osbourne, but when Metallica opened up for him, they had a full stage set on the Master of Puppets tour. And when I saw that Master of Puppets tour, and Jason was actually at that same show, and a lot of my friends were, and we were young and just inspired. We were blown away that this band, Metallica, had this Master of Puppets stage setup that looked so good. And then out came afterwards, they just knocked everybody down. And then Ozzy comes out looking like Bette Midler, and it was a very bad era.
It was.
And there was no, why Metallica is so big, because they were out there hungry. But my point is that Ozzy back then was giving bands full stage. With No Rest for the Wicked tour, he had Anthrax, and he gave them a full stage. These guys gave full opening acts like some serious love, and it doesn't happen as often as it used to, and I think it really needs to kind of come back to that. I understand on the local level, it sucks on the local level, but hey man, you got to you got to eat a little shit for a little while,
That's
know,
right.
because a lot of those guys that are out on the road, they don't have the room either.
That's right.
So,
And that's where club owners will really pay attention to, and tour managers from other bands. Let's say it's a national act, or, be a C-level national act coming through, and you got the local band opening up for them, and they remember, hey, you know what, these guys, we only gave them, a carpet-sized stage to play on, but they were really cool about it. When we come back, we're going to reach back to you guys and get you to come and open for us again because you were cool last time and you brought a few people.
Well, one of the best bands for that was the band Creator, and when they if they see a band that they like and they've had the local band open up for them, their crew will actually go out there and say, hey guys, let me help you with the stage to give you more room.
Wow.
Nice. And it's just amazing. So there's some guys that really mean it. And Mele from Creator and Spize and everybody, they're just great dudes.
Yeah,
the best.
I agree. And tell me if you think this is a good thing to do for young musicians, or even if it's older musicians, but we used this term earlier tonight. We talked about the experience level. You could be young or old. You could still be inexperienced. First thing I would do to warm up everybody that I was involved with for the night, I'd walk in and we're somewhere down the line, maybe 2 bands up. I'd go meet the sound man. Whether the sound was good or horrendously bad, I'd go ahead and try to get his attention, shake my hand, say, hi, I'm so-and-so from the band coming up. Sounds really good, man. Can I get you a drink? Whatever, or whatever the case may be. And just, no rock star attitude. And I was like, yeah, no problem. And then when you get up on stage, that guy or girl is going to go out of their way to make you shine, because you didn't walk in there.
Absolutely, man. And always be cool to your local house guys, whether it be the doorman, whether it be your bartender, whether it be your sound man, your light guy, your monitor guy, whoever it is. Take the extra moment, man, to thank them and putting up for you. And then also the best thing you can do for them, rather than just even being nice, is be a pro.
Yeah.
All right. If you're a crappy band, you're making their life horrible, no matter how
they have
nice
to listen to you. They can't.
All right. So be pro. Know your monitor setup before you get there. What do you need in your wedges every show?
Yeah.
What do you need if you're running in-ears? Be prepared. Don't let them figure it out for you. Don't say, I don't know how to do this. You know what? Be pro.
That's right.
You're going to make their life a lot easier. And if you make their life a lot easier, they're going to make your life a lot easier. Then you thank them for putting up with your shit.
That's right. Go to the radio stations, have some interview questions planned, give them to the DJ. He's going to love you. He or she's going to love you. Like, okay, I don't have to plan. I have everything right for me. That's just be prepared. Be prepared. And you said
absolutely
it for sure.
Be pro.
So let's talk about Autumn's End. First of all, I want you to set this up by telling us a little bit about the band. And did you take a break for a while? I thought for a while you took a break and then got back into it. But tell us a little bit about the band. You've got the new EP, Burning the Earth. Is that correct?
Yes.
So give us a whole nutshell.
Autumn's End, the new EP, Burn the Earth, we just put it out just a couple months ago. We're really excited. This was, it's almost like I say there's 2 Autumn's Ends, but there really was actually a couple more than that. I mean, this is a brand new incarnation of Autumn's End. And I really had no plans. It took about 3 to 3.5 years off. And I was just writing music at home and really only thinking that it was just going to be me writing music for the internet. And then Jason, my drummer, came into the picture and decided to say, he's also in this amazing band called Hogjaw. They're like a southern rock band. We like to say southwestern style rock band because they're out of Arizona. And he was like, yeah, I want to start playing some metal too, man. We have a big history together. We've been friends since like 1989, somewhere around there. And, he really inspired me to get back into playing again. And, back in the earlier days of Autumn's End, we had some great high moments and a couple of bad moments and some cool tours and some not so cool tours. But our old bass player, who's still one of my best friends in the world, Chris L., he's out in the band with Insight now, with Richie Cavalera.
Oh, nice.
And Drew Tang. And that's his band for the last 4 years or so. So everything that we've ever gone through has always been on good terms. So I really wasn't expecting it between the jobs, between the companies that I was working for. They don't really like you being in a band. It sounds funny, but nobody really likes you to be in a band when you're working a brand. But things just happen to fall into pieces, or not fall into pieces, fall into place. Fall into place. Yeah. And with the new lineup of Autumn's End, with me, Jason, Tanner, and Rude T, technically every one of us at one time or another were actually in the band N17, so it's kind of funny. And we came up with this new sound, this new feel, and It's really it's a wonderful collective, and I can't say enough that I couldn't be happier that we're not using hardly any of the music that I wrote on my own beforehand. It's actually been such a great collective amongst everybody. And Burn the Earth is this new, just over the top, just really aggressive sound for us. And it's not the most dynamic roller coaster songs that we've written, but it's definitely the 6 most ferocious that we have to come out of the gate and say, here, this is right in your face, punk. You know what I mean? This is just, it's there. And a lot of it has to do with Tanner. It actually has to do with everybody. So it's exciting. It's exciting. So
you have 2 guitarists in the band. I know you handle the lead vocals. Are you the lead guitarist, or do you share lead duties?
You know what? I've always been the sole lead guitar player.
Okay.
And now I'm sharing the lead duties.
Okay.
And that is just refreshing, because now we're doing harmonies. We're doing just a whole lot of just texturing, a lot of, different style of guitar parts, different counter melodies, augmentations. Just it's very musical, even though it's very aggressive. It's too. I'm not doing this. I'm not saying
no.
I'm this or that. It's 2 very accomplished guitar players that are being able to play in a band together, and it's taken a lot of the strain off of me as a lead vocalist, because he also is a singer in his band Source, so he can scream as well. So we're kind of sharing a lot of this duality. And then Jason on drums is very hands-on when it comes down to arrangements, and he is the epitome of the bus driver. When we're playing live, he runs the show.
Nice.
I may be the front man, but he runs the show. He's the one telling us this is how it's going to be. He's setting the tempo for the entire set. He runs off his own click. He doesn't even listen to us.
No.
It's his show, and we're just looking cool because of him. And Rudy, our bass player, who has been my friend for 23 years now, maybe even longer, when he first moved here from England, he's just this primate that learned how to walk upright and turn around and be able to play very complex bass in a very punk rock fashion. I don't know. It's exciting. I can't say enough. I don't mean to be so salesman-like on it, but really, if you want to check it out, go to your Spotify, go to your iTunes, go to your Pandoras, whatever it is on the digital streaming, Bandcamp, CD Baby, but most of it, you can get it all that from autumnzen.net.
Perfect. Good. And I like the fact that you mentioned your colleague as an accomplished guitar player too. And I've always said this is something that's always been good for me, is I always played with people at my level and way better than me sometimes, because you only being the lead guitar player for the most your career, or at least with this band, all of a sudden now you got another guy in the band. Sometimes you might be like, okay, well, at least it'd be me all the time. All of a sudden now you're getting that kick in the butt that you may need once in a while.
Oh yeah.
When you get complacent and
on
autopilot.
And boy, is it inspiring me to be a better player.
Good.
It's making me be able to learn how to sing in polyrhythm over different types of beats and arrangements. It's pushing me as a musician, and I was stale. I'm not going to lie. I got stale for a while, and the fun was lost for a while. That's why there was so many years in a break. Why, it's still called Autumn Zen, but it's really not even the same band.
Yeah.
We only played 1 song from the old catalog.
Wow. So, there you go.
Yeah.
So it's a new thing for sure. I think people would be a real treat to see you. And I actually did see your YouTube tonight. I'm going to link it down in the description below as well too, so people can see some of the older videos and the new stuff on the YouTube as well. And then on your Facebook page as well, you've got everything on there as well too, including all the teaser trailers and everything for that as well too.
Great.
So let's jump over the chat for a real quick second. We're going to let you fly so you can go see some local great entertainment.
Yeah, because I got to catch an Uber here real quick.
I'm going to let you out of here in about a minute and a half. Bobby Clipper says, great weekend to all. Sean Sell says, take care, Bobby. Let me see here. Who do we got? Quentin James says, be a pro. Carl Santin says, story about Van Halen opening for the Stones in 81 to tour the Orange Bowl. Show pictures from back in the day. Mick Jagger would refuse to let Eddie bring in his bombshell on stage. The Stones calling the shots there. Carl Santin says, yeah, Sean, let me see. Nick's did that sound check. Said to Eddie, what is this thing? Eddie tells me, says, no, and had to be taken off stage. A very interesting story, and that will happen from time to time. It's big bands, small bands, it happens everywhere. Last question, you can answer this one. What is this is for you, Chris, and you can fly. He says, Chris, this is Brad Boland. What is your favorite EVH amp?
You know what? I haven't played them all.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've not. I'm going to still say my favorite is Channel 2 off of the original EVH 5153 100 watt. I just love the Channel 2. I think it's voiced perfect.
Yep.
And if you're playing extreme music that plays a lot of notes, I don't use a whole lot of gain.
Yeah.
But that gain that's on Channel 2 adds the sustain that you need and also has the note clarity. Because I want everybody to hear my notes, and I'm also a mid-range freak, so I run my mids always past 12 o'clock.
Yeah.
If not even farther. And that Channel 2 is actually my personal favorite because I was able to run Channel 1, 2, and 3 simultaneously and separately. That's my favorite. I have really enjoyed the EL34 version, but I still have a soft spot for obvious reasons, for the 100 watt and for the 50 watt version of that original 5153. I
agree. That good answer on that one, and that's why I play through that all the time as well too. So listen, Chris, I know you got to get going. You're going to have a cab there in a second. I want to thank you graciously for your 90 minutes of your time. It's great to catch back up with you again, and we'll be in touch again. I'm looking forward to touching base with you in 2018 and hear about this new venture.
Thank you. It's good to see you again. Thanks for taking up and putting up with my shit for the last 90 minutes. And
that was great.
Hope it was entertaining enough to keep your audience listening. But most of all, your show is about EVH, and I only had a short stint there for a little over 5.5 years. But everything that guy has ever deserved or has ever gotten, he's deserved it because he is truly, and even now we still text. We still keep in touch fairly well. He's an extraordinary human.
Yeah.
Him and Matt, Janie, Wolfie, that family will always be a part of my family. And, whether or not I'm a part of the EVH brand, we're always part of the EVH family.
Yeah,
so,
that's most important. Yeah. I love it, man. I'm going to let you fly. I'm going to continue on the show for a couple minutes. You go have a great show tonight. Tell your colleague there that I hope he has a great CD release party, and I hope they have a great time.
You got it, man.
Cheers, buddy. You can take right off. Horns up, buddy. Love you.
All right. Later.
See you soon. Take care. All right, everybody. Thank you so much. That was fun. That was great having Chris for 90 minutes. Chris and I go back quite some time. We talked about that earlier around the 2008 timeline. That's when we hooked up, and it's been a great relationship ever since. And we always use this term, brother from another mother. That's what he feels like for sure. He's a genuine dude, as you saw and heard. He was good to other people, giving all the time. And a lot of times you do that, and there's something waiting for you at the other end. And not when you're asking for it either. Just when you're not asking for it is when something will come your way. And let's all kind of throw some good positive vibes to the Cannella family there and see that this new project that is in the works for 2018 works out for them for sure. I'm just going to cycle back through the chat here a little bit to see if anyone that I might have missed. And I really had fun tonight. This is, it kind of feels like it almost feels like I was off for a year. It was a month, 3 or 4 weeks I think I took off. And I kind of joked in the title of the description of this video. I said some of it was forced, some of it was needed. I kind of painted myself in the corner. You see those commercials on TV with the guys painting the floor or whatever, and the wife says to him, "Hey honey, do you know what you're doing?" "Oh yeah, I've done this before." And the guy's stuck over in the corner because he's painted himself in the corner. I kind of painted myself in the corner because I did way more interviews than I was prepared for. I think I did something like 8 interviews in 3 weeks, but it was fun. Trust me, it was fun. The Sons of Apollo guys were incredible. Rudy Sarzo, and we had George Lopez hang out there in the middle of that thing. So it was kind of this crazy 2 or 3 weeks. And then the flu come through the house, and Poison Ivy's condition that she has, she cannot be sick, and she got sick. It's been kind of a living hell in the household here. So we're all getting somewhat healthier as far as the flu. That's all gone. So back to business. And it just felt so weird. I did the unboxing yesterday, go real quick, like what's in the mailbag kind of thing. And it was the first time I'd been on the camera in a few weeks. And it just felt so weird, and it wasn't exactly in my prettiest condition. I had the 5-day beard going on and all that kind of stuff. But a lot of fun. And I can't thank you guys enough for coming back on again tonight, and like you do every week. And this is fun. This is where the fun spot is for a Friday. And I really hope once again that I was able, with Chris's help, a great help tonight, to be your warm-up band or your warm-up show or whatever you want to call it, your warm-up for your weekend warm-up party, whatever that may be. That sounds stupid, but you know what I'm trying to say. So, Carlo, thank you for sharing that story about the practice bomb with the Stones. That's very, very cool. I did not know that. And Sean Salas is saying, hang on, let me go back up a little bit. Sean says, Chris is an incredible guitarist. He showed me a cool arpeggio and speed. Chris is an incredible guitar player. And you know, you guys, if you look back, you look at any EVH, you type in EVH whatever demo, and Chris was there doing it all when he was with the brand, you know, everything from the guitars to the amplifiers and everything in between. There's a ton of him out there on the net. Very, very talented guitar player. And it's kind of hard too, because a lot of those demos, he had to really hold back what he could do. He's a monster player, but you know, people don't want to just see all the shred. They wanted to see what it sounds like with a power chord and things like that. So very, very cool. I'm very, very happy to have Chris on the show this evening. Brad is saying Channel 2 is my favorite too as well. Carlo Santin says Chris is a good dude. Thanks for tonight, Chris. Another great show. Humbucker Lover says agree, Carlo. And I'm not sure if Humbucker's doing a show. He usually does shows on the evenings. If he's doing one after this, please go check him out. Go subscribe to his channel and turn on the notifications, just like I always tell people here too, so you will be notified when he goes live. Sean Salas says, thank you, Chris and Eric. Awesome show. Love you guys. Blackie DH says, cool show, guys. Curtis Murata says, great show. Eric, thank you for giving us a positive place to hang. Thanks for hanging with us, Chris. Take care. And I do my best, Curtis, to keep it as positive as possible. I love to I always like to find the silver lining in everything. You know, if it's raining on this side of the street, I like to say, well, it might be sunny on this side of the street. So I try to do that as much as possible. Positive energy is a lot more contagious than negative energy. I mean, negative energy can be just as much or more so if you allow it. Just don't allow it. Find positive in everything, you know. When you go to the drive-thru to get your coffee in the morning tomorrow, whether it's a Starbucks or a Tim Hortons or whatever it may be, put a smile on your face and tell that person have a great day, and more than likely they'll probably say the same thing back to you. They could be in a miserable mood and you're in a good mood, or vice versa. You can change someone's day with a smile and a thank you. So keep that in mind, and that's what I try to do here as well too. And Brad says Janie is such a sweetie. She's good. She's a good lady, and I think she's done a lot of good for Eddie as well too. Thomas Santiago says great show, Eric, and great week. Have a great weekend. Thank you, you as well. And I really wish I had a monitor that was 20 feet tall so I could have the chat really large. Let me see if I and Brad says, if there's anything I can ever do for you or your show, please just say so. I may take you up on that, because I really like what you do with the cosplay stuff, things like that. I think that'd be fun to maybe sometime do that, because, you know, here in the house, we're really into a lot of the superhero movies, and we're into, like, you know, Walking Dead and all that kind of cool stuff. So the cosplayers, and Junior here is he has a friend that is a cosplayer. So yeah, we might maybe have you do something like that for fun. So I will take you up on that offer. Be fun for sure. Blackie DH says, take care of family first. And that's indeed exactly what I did. It was hard to walk away from the show for a few weeks, a month almost. So, and he says, seriously, thank you, Eric. Carlo, glad to hear family is doing better. Yes, we're doing good. Junior can actually taste his fast food. Now he gets once a week. And he was dying. He couldn't even taste fast food. So that was pretty bad. Humbucker Lover says, we was praying for you all. We pray for everyone we know. Thank you. We're very blessed to have that kind of support, and I feel very blessed myself to have the fans and friends, a combination of both, that tune into this. Let me see, Frank McNeil, great job tonight, brother. You are back in the saddle and knocked it out of the park again, as usual. Thank you. I really appreciate that. I did feel like I was bunting a few times tonight and maybe got a base hit, but as long as you enjoyed it, you know, that's all that matters. And you guys really bring it for me every week. David Ennis is jumping in saying, hi, Eric. Mark Taylor, good words of advice, Eric. Thank you, Mark. I appreciate that. And Mark, I really hope you're well. Quentin James says, great show. And Mark Taylor says, hey, Will, great show, Quentin James. Guys and girls, go find out whatever else is online tonight. I'm sure there's some good stuff to watch, all kinds of cool stuff. We did have a bit of a crazy thing happen with YouTube yesterday, the YouTube purge of 2017. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that, but I think YouTube was experimenting with new mathematical algorithms to find insensitive content or inappropriate content online, and it accidentally shut down some major channels, quite a few channels. Conan O'Brien was one of them, and then there's a lot of other channels that were more questionable. certainly, and they weren't worth shutting down. It's just that there were some mathematical equations out there, algorithms that shut them down. So that was a bit of a crazy thing. There's a lot of people complaining, and some of these people, you know, they might get between 1 million to 5-6 million views overnight. And if that channel shut down overnight, and that's what people do for a job, I mean, that's, you know, you can laugh all you want, say, well, that's a tough job, but it's a job to them. And, you know, it could be several thousands to several tens of thousands of dollars an evening that they lost because of this mathematical algorithm. So hopefully YouTube has got that figured out, and I'd like to see if there's any kind of compensation that's been shown to these you know, major YouTubers that lost their channels for a better part of an evening. So crazy for sure. Great, guys and girls, have a fantastic post-Thanksgiving weekend. I hope everyone survived the Black Friday sales. I didn't really take part in too much of that today. I was at a store that had some Black Friday sales. There were some good deals. I saw some really cool things but you know what? Not about me. There's other people that are more important. So that's the family here. So I passed on Black Friday deals, and I hope everyone has a fantastic weekend. Happy to be back in the saddle again, as everyone says. And I will message you, buddy. I will for sure. I got you on Facebook, so I will touch base, and that'll be fantastic. Have a fantastic weekend. I'm going to be back next week. I think I've got coming next Friday. I've got, I would have to confirm the time, Chad Boston from the Line 6 Helix Groups and FriendlyGearFreaks.com. We're going to have a really, really cool question and answer period on the Line 6 Helix back here. And I've got some other guests, great guests. We're just waiting for the confirmations. I'll share those with you next week as well, too. And we're going to go into the Christmas time, the holiday season, with some killer shows. And we're going to build up again to kick it off in fashion in 2018 and celebrate, I guess it'd be, 2 years coming up in January, 2-year anniversary of EVH Gear TV. Everyone, have a fantastic evening. Check out Autumn's End to see what they're all about. And I look forward to seeing you very soon. And Ed should come on and do the Christmas special. Make it happen. Make it happen. Doors always open for any of the Van Halens, for sure. All right, I'm going to turn it over to the little man. He's going to tell us what he's playing, what his name is. And I look forward to seeing you guys and girls all very, very soon. Check out Humbucker Lover. See if he's going live. Not sure if he is. Have a good weekend. I'm going to go hang with the boy. Have a fun evening. We'll see you real soon. Until next time. Cheers.
Hey, my name is Eric, and I'm playing the Frankenstrat guitar.
Video production services provided by Design 39 Media. Visit design39media.com for all your website, photography, and video production needs.